Yo, LaRock.
Check one. My mic sound nice. Check two. My mic sound nice. Check three. Are you ready?
Now that's Black Girl Magic.
The sister, the sister, the sisterhood radio. The sister, the sister, the sisterhood radio. The sister, the sister, the sisterhood radio. The sister, the sister, the sisterhood radio.
I know that's right.
Unbossed, unbothered, unbossed, unbothered. The sister, the sister, the sisterhood radio. Yo, what's poppin', Philly? It's your boy Warbucks, checking out the Sisterhood Radio podcast with LaRock and Lady Bex. Strong, independent, educated black woman. Yeah, dig. Huh?
Sisterhood Radio, unbossed and unbothered with LaRock and Lady Bex.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Sisterhood Radio. My name is LaRock Lewis. Welcome to the Sisterhood Radio. It is Friday. It's Happy Friday because the Sisterhood is on. And I know it's raining. I know it's like a monsoon out here in the East Coast. I don't know about any place else, but right here it's outside looking a hot mess. But we are here nevertheless, and we are all happy and blessed. And we are the Sisterhood Radio. Unfortunately, my co-host, my cousin, can't be here today. So shout out to Lady Bex. Hopefully we'll see her back next Friday. Ooh, I love that. We'll see her next Friday on another show. But you have me, and that's wonderful. Hope everybody's doing okay out there. Thank you for logging in today. And a special shout out to people who have been just checking in on me this week. And I like that. I feel loved. So I'm happy that we are all here and we're all well. Despite of what's going on in the world, we still have our sanity, and that's what matters. That we're blessed. But I'm very excited about today's show. Oh, first let me say, of course, that we are unbossed and unbothered. I cannot ever forget that, right? I know Lady Bex is not here, so I'm usually, I have her to remind me of these things. But we are unbossed and unbothered. We're here to empower, uplift, and inspire Black women and culture all day, every day. We've always done that, we're not just because it's popular, people are now popular now, but no, we always been supporting Black women, and this is the time for you to support Black women, right? I know you've seen Black women businesses popping up, you've seen Black leaders speaking out. Shout out to all the Black politicians out there, and I know if you've seen it. And so I'm glad that more people are aware of who we are. We've always been around, always been there. But welcome to the show. I'm very excited to have this special guest on the show. I wanted her on this show for, since the show began, actually, just to kind of connect with each other and everything. And so I'm welcoming you to the show right now, Miss Natacha Pannell. Let's get some hand claps for her. Go. Hey, pretty lady, how you doing?
Good, beautiful.
How's everything?
Everything's pretty good. I can't complain.
Awesome. Like I was just telling everyone in Facebook world that I wanted you on here for the longest time, and I'm so happy that we have finally connected. Like for a couple of years now. So I'm happy that we finally connected. Next, you have to meet my co-host, who is Lady Bex. And you will eventually one day, because of course I'd like to have you on a show again, but I'm going to introduce your wonderful bio to the world right now. Everyone, this is Natacha Pannell. She is the founder and CEO of Corner to Corner Community Empowerment, executive producer and host of her own talk show and social media platform, The Natacha Knows Show. Aired right on Verizon Files Public Access TV for 2 years. Ms. Pannell and her mom, Thelma, both have started the Philip Pannell Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization to bring visibility and awareness about social injustices and senseless violence. She's also a public speaker, a trainer, an educator, a journalist, a mentor. Woo, yes, honey. A poet. I love to hear this. This is all Black Girl Magic, and I love it. Social change agent, a brand influencer, a celebrity radio and television personality, Powerhouse, can you bring some more claps? Because this right here, she needs the whole nine right here. We'll pick you up. She's also a loving mother, a daughter, a sister, a relative, and a friend. And her motto is, I inspire to inspire, live my life with minimal regrets and live in the moment, be free because the moment is all we have. The SistaHood now welcomes to join the conversation, Natacha Pannell. One more hand clap, I like how they sound, right? That's awesome. I'm glad for you to be here. So, how are you feeling? Tell me how you're feeling right now.
Well, I'm feeling pretty good. I can't complain. It's been a lot going on lately within the past, like I want to say, few months.
Right.
Personally, I've been going to so many rallies.
Yes.
Meeting with various families and things to that effect. And my mom's been kind of swept in a whirlwind too, so I've been definitely supportive of my mother, and my mom's been supportive of me. So I can't really complain. I just want to just move on to the next level.
Right.
So I'm a strong social justice advocate. Yes, I don't mind rallying because I think that's shit. But I've gone to over 10, 15 rallies already.
Right. And I've seen you at a couple of them. I definitely seen you at a couple. I've been there. I have my mask and stuff on, but your voice is very powerful. And I also want to say that people who do not know, who are familiar with who you are, I want to introduce the world who you are in any way you want to. But why your voice is very important and very impactful right now in 2020 in this climate, I should say. In this climate, why I want people to know who you are.
Okay. Well, I'm Natacha Pannell. My brother was Philip Pannell. He was a 16-year-old who was shot in the back and killed in Teaneck, New Jersey by police officer Gary Spath. At the time, my brother was fleeing and his hands were raised in the air. According to the autopsy, he was shot in the back, and according to eyewitnesses, he was shot in the back. And I emphasize that because many people tend to believe whatever they want to believe and try to, I guess I wouldn't say side with the officer, but kind of like justify my brother's killing. I mean, bottom line, it should have been something that should have been prevented, or could have been prevented rather, had the police officer just allowed my brother to go home.
Right.
They've always picked him up later, or whatever it is he was, after him for. So, I mean, just to me, Celine, to be honest, when you ask me how I'm feeling, I am feeling upbeat because I'm an upbeat type of person. I try to stay as positive as I can possibly be. But I'm a little, right now, I feel a little overwhelmed, to be honest, because I don't want to be viewed as that 13-year-old girl who lost her brother. And I feel like those feelings are resurfacing, and I don't want to go backwards in life. I want to move, So with that said, I'm also a talk show host.
Right.
I interview celebrities, B-list, A-list, C-list.
Right. Any list, just come on. That's how we are too.
Exactly. I would love for you to be on my show as well.
You can be on the grocery list. We still take you, okay?
Exactly. I interview extraordinary people like yourself, everyday people on the ground, that's doing their thing as you are. So I'm a mother, like you said. I have a 21-year-old son who's just the bomb. Okay. Philip, I named him after my brother. His name is Armando Philip Pannell Hicks.
Nice.
Yes, he has 4 days. And I just found out that I have a sister, a long lost sister. I found out about maybe 4 years ago. If you look me up on social media, come to find out my father was with her mother prior to my parents. My parents were together. And I have, I always grew up after my brother passed from 13 up until maybe, like I said, 3-4 years ago, thinking I'll never be an aunt. I'll never have nephews. And now, lo and behold, I have 3 nieces and one.
Wow.
Excuse me. I have 4 nieces. I have 2 nieces, 2 great nieces, and a great nephew.
Wow.
Yes. So God is good. God is good.
Right. You got that connection. I'm happy to hear that. I'm going to I know we discussed like off like of the air, and I know you've been on different rallies and things like that. And I said in the introduction, like what you're saying to everyone out there impacts a lot of people. You know, I was at the rally in Inglewood, New Jersey, and your voice was just so powerful. You know, like it was very silent when you spoke because your passion was in your heart when you spoke about police brutality. You spoke about, you know, Teaneck, things that happened with your brother, and you were very vocal about that. And I know you said you were very overwhelmed with that. And I know the trauma you had when you were 13 years old that is resurfacing. And I believe that, you know, vicariously, people are feeling that, you know, Black people, Black mothers, Black sisters are feeling that around the world, right? And, you know, since actually the beginning of this nation, actually, people have been feeling out about our people. What are you saying? People are also grabbing towards you and pulling you here and there. And so what other places have gone and tried to speak out about this?
I've gone to White Plains to support Kenneth Chamberlain Jr. His father was Kenneth Chamberlain Sr., whose life alert was triggered, and the police were summoned because of the alert. And he was telling the police he was okay, and they were so, you know, persistent, and they wanted to get in, or an assistant, and they broke down his door, and they actually killed him, you know. So I went out to White Plains a couple of months ago to a rally there to honor his father and to fight for justice. And luckily, he was able to get an indictment, you know, on some of the police officers, or not an indictment necessarily, but he was able to get it where they're going to take it to trial or look at the evidence again. I forgot the name of it, the legal term.
Right.
And then I've been to a couple of rallies in New York, in Newark as well. Matter of fact, we saw each other out there.
Yep. That's all. I think I heard. I don't know if I heard you there, but I know I heard you at other places. And like I said, your voice is very powerful. You know, and when I think of your story, you know, I think about, you know, what happened with your brother. What I remember most, and I'm going to share with you and everyone else, I was in 6th grade when everything happened. I was in 6th grade, and I remember just the whole town was quiet. I don't know if you remember that, but I know, like, for the outsiders, it was just very, very just quiet and not really understanding what was going on. Now, when we are in 2020 here, our kids are seeing everything, right? Our kids are very vigilant. Our kids are they know about everything what's going on. And so explaining it to them, it's very difficult, you know? And so I know when I was a 6th grader attending BF Middle School, right there in Teaneck, at 6th grader, there was so much talk about it amongst the children. I don't remember hearing the teachers talk about it. I don't remember hearing the teachers discussing it. If you know, anybody out there who was at BF during that time, like, you know, let me know if I was wrong. But I don't remember that, you know, his story was even shared with us. You know, and I think that's very important that a life was lost and their stories need to be shared. And I know as young people, when I was younger, it was like the story wasn't, unless you knew who you were personally, right? Unless we knew your family personally. Other than that, it was just, you know, and things just moved right on, like just continued right on. And that's what I wanted to talk about. Like, you know, what things have you started? I know you have a foundation. If you can explain about that, like what things after the whole, you know, horrible incident, what things have you started? Yeah.
Well, I just want to go back on what you were saying and just touch base on that. I mean, I believe you when you say that it was kind of not discussed and not talked about amongst the adult population back in the 1990, from like 1990 to like 92, which is the year that the trial took place, and the trial ended towards the end of 92. within that first 2 years, there was a huge cover up, and I'm not going to disclose everything
Right.
now because my mom and I are in a process of writing a book
Right.
about
Okay.
actually what happened during that time, what happened
Mm.
to my brother, and the aftermath behind, the controversial aspect of it all, and who my brother was as a person, and the truth
Mm.
through that book. I mean, there is a book that's out and that has been out called the color lines, racial tension or something like.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, and a reporter by the name of Mike Kelly actually wrote that book, and he wrote a lot of lies in that book. He definitely misconstrued words that people said, and to me personally, when I hear the word Mike Kelly, he's never come to my family and or myself and said, well, here's a certain amount of the proceeds, put it towards Natasha's scholarship, because he wrote
Mm.
this almost 30 years ago, right?
Mm.
He
Right.
never came, not to say that we're asking for money or anything like that from him or anyone else,
Yeah.
because grievance, you can't put a dollar sign or a money sign to it, but
Right.
just to have honor and integrity and things like that. He's never done that. And
Mm.
to had written this book, about my brother and about my family, a huge portion of that book, if not all of the book, is lies. It depicts my brother in a negative light, like my brother was a thug. It depicts my father as a drug dealer or a drug addict, and my father never really did any drugs.
Mm-hmm.
My father was a heavy alcoholic, a
Mm.
heavy drinker at times, but to that, aside from that, excuse me, my father was an excellent father.
Right.
I was one of few of my friends who had both their mothers and their fathers in the same home, who had, I grew up in a Cape Cod home. I had my own bedroom, so in the book, it depicts my family in a negative light, like we were broke and destitute. And that is just the tip of the iceberg when you talk about the controversy that occurred and how my family was railroaded, how this officer's record was never put on display, and just a whole bunch of things that was told to us years later, how my
Mm-hmm.
brother's body was shipped to DC right directly after he was killed by staff, and they tried to reconstruct where the bullet entered his body. All types of things
Oh my
were
God.
occurring, yes, at the time, but when they put my brother's clothing on him and they matched the bullet hole that entered his back, and
Mm.
according to the first autopsy, it did not match. So the prosecutor and the state and everyone had to agree that, okay, somebody botched the first.
Right.
We have to do it now. We have to do another autopsy because ballistics doesn't match. And when they did the second autopsy, that's when we got the indictment against Spath, because they found out that my brother's hands were raised in the air and he was shot in the back. But still no avail, because it was an all-white jury. It was a
Always.
retired police officer on that jury. Officer Spath's father and grandfather played golf with the judge, and they were best friends. So it was a whole, and it was a whole. The trial itself, it's on court TV. So
Yeah.
anyone watching, don't just take my word for it. Please go on court TV
Mm-hmm.
and look at the trial yourself, and you can come up with your own conclusion about the whole trial itself, because it was like a circus. They
Right.
brought in police officers that had been shot or crippled or wheelchair bound, that had absolutely nothing to do with my
Nothing
brother.
to do with it. And
Yeah.
and they do that a lot, and they continuously do that today. How many times we're going to hear about police record? I don't give a damn about people's police records when a child is killed. You know what I'm saying? They have done that in all these senseless murders. They've done that. They this was a troubled child. Eric Garner wanted to do this. Trayvon Martin had this. He had this in his system, or just
They didn't kill themselves. It had
complete nonsense.
nothing.
Complete nonsense. They always do that to our people, and
Yeah.
that's what we have a problem with. They always try to have our young boys. All of a sudden, they're adults, right? They're 13, 14, 15 years old. All of a sudden, you're going to call them adults now. Oh, he was this type of child. They always do that. And, you know, I'm glad that you said that because, and I'm glad you mentioned that that book was a bunch of lies as well, because that's what they feed the media. They're feeding the media. The media's going to not feed the media, but they're going to feed people through the media all these bogus situations. And they kind of like, they forget that these are human people. These are actual people. Yeah. They don't do that for everyone else. For us, they're going to turn us out like we're a bunch of, like you said, we're destitute and maybe, you know, daddy on drugs and all that kind of bull crap. This is not the truth. And if you know what, if daddy was still, if he was on drugs, so what if he was on drugs?
I was going to say that. My father didn't pull the trigger. He didn't kill his son.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
And the thing about it that I don't understand is how these police officers are acting in a negligent way, or, you know, irrationally, and then they get off and then they get paid for killing our loved ones. You know, they get paid in a sense where maybe some of them can never be a police officer again, but they get their pensions.
Pension, right.
The officer's staff, he pled insanity. And because he pled insanity, he got an additional $46,000 a year for the rest of his life.
He pled insanity?
Yes. He said that because of the media, how the media was portraying him, and because of the whole ordeal, it drove him crazy. He didn't know if he's going to ever be able to work again.
So what is that? That's another form of what? White privilege?
Exactly.
That's more white tears, right?
Yeah.
That's what all it's about. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
My mom and I, you know, I've had jobs, fortunately, because I did graduate. I'm a college grad, but aside from that, I've never made $2.88 million within the past 30 years. Now, I say that number, I'm throwing that number out there because I personally calculated SPAS pension, which would be probably between 48,000 and 52,000 automatically at the age of 36 until however old he is now. And then you tack on an additional $46,000. So you add that and you times it by 30. I came up with $2.88 million.
Oh my God.
And has received within the past 30 years of killing my brother. And here it is, my 16-year-old brother. When I want to go see him, I have to go visit him in the grave, you know. And yes, my family at the time, we were compensated for his civil rights because, you know, he was shot in the back in the manner he was killed. Right. But it doesn't constitute what actually happened that should not have happened to my brother, nor does it amount up to the money that staff has received.
Right.
So,
right.
And then I wanted to go back really quick on what you said about the school and BFJ. I don't know too much about any programs, but I know in the high school, after this happened, about maybe a year or so after it happened, they started the forum or what have you.
Yeah, they had the forum, yeah.
And they started the forum, they started the zone, and they started the drop-in center or something in Hackensack because of what happened to my brother. And don't you know, Celine, that I've gone to the zone. I'll just call it a spade. I'll call it out. I've gone to the zone to apply for a job, and I was turned down, you know, because a lot of these programs, and not to say that the forum particularly, because I don't know who runs the forum, but a lot of programs are run by white women or Jewish population, the Jewish population, and they have a tendency to hire us only for their, like, what they want us to do, meaning they're not going to hire us to run the actual program.
Right.
We're not going to be able to go and get a grant or get funded for the same program that we would know how to run.
Right.
Not that they're not running it correctly, but we would know how to run it because we deal with this every day.
Every single day. We deal with the social injustices of our people daily and have been for generations, right? And we should know. I love that you're speaking, and you have been speaking about this for many years. You might as well say you've been an advocate since you were 13 years old. You've been advocating for, for your brother. I just want people to know that this stuff, we know it's real, but people, I know we talked this, off camera before, that people never see the families afterwards. the families kind of like disappear from the spotlight. We never know what happens to these families. We never know the trauma that's taken place. We never know if there's been therapy, because they didn't talk about therapy when they killed Emmett Till. Feel me? When they killed Emmett Till, they didn't tell about, Miss Till and how her life was afterwards and how traumatic what she had to go through with that. But now we are in a climate and culture of self-care and therapy and making sure children are being taken care of psychologically, right? So, I don't know if any of those services when you were a child that would help you go through things, or those even were provided, for your family,
Yeah, well, I don't know if you remember. Well, you went to when this happened, right before it happened to my brother, we moved to Inglewood, and I was attending Inglewood School, so I was out of school for a majority of that year. So going back to school, there was a woman by the name of Miss Duncan, and she had the DARE program. So I signed up for that. And like I took the initiative to put myself and thrust myself into as many programs as I could to take my mind off of what's going on in my life outside of school. And I have to say, like, I joined basketball, I joined the band, I was like just thrown into so much because I wanted to get my mind off of things. And to be honest with you, Ms. Duncan helped me a lot. There wasn't any other type of counseling or formal type of counseling outside of school other than the Black Clergy Council. Very instrumental. A pastor, or reverend rather, by the name of Reverend Fletcher. He would come and take me a lot to get ice cream, take me out to and counsel me.
Was that from Teaneck First Baptist or no?
Yeah.
That was Teaneck First Baptist? Okay, that sounds familiar. Okay.
He passed away. He used to go, I think, to that church, and then also he was affiliated with Genesee Church.
Genesee,
the Black Council, used to go to multiple churches. And then the Humphrey Street Church too. That's my First Baptist, because I'll be getting free.
We have a nice church community around here. If you've been to one church, you've been to the other. So we're topped.
But definitely, Reverend Al Sharpton also was so he allowed me to babysit his daughters for one summer. He hired me and gave me a summer job. And that kind of gave me a sense of normalcy because I loved kids, and his daughters were like wonderful kids. And, I would see the Rev like getting ready for an event, if you will. And then
the Rev
babysit his daughters for like a few hours. Then he would come and pick them up and then take them to wherever I guess he was going at the time. It's things like that I remember that kind of gave me a sense of normalcy and solace. Because my world was so chaotic. So like from 1990, from the night it happened until about maybe around 93, from end of 93, early 94, my world started coming back to a little bit of normalcy.
Right. I can only imagine. I know that everyone has a story of what we felt like during that time. I know I was just on in a Zoom meeting with the Teaneck Police Department, how they were, having this discussion. Everyone's having these discussions now. There were a lot of people on there. I think it was maybe like it wasn't enough, I should say, but it was like 75 people on there, I believe. And there was a couple of Teaneck High School classmates of mine that were on there, and they brought up the fact that they were around when that happened and how it still affects them today. And it does. It definitely affects all of us who were growing up in Teaneck at that time. And we're still vocal about it now. We're still on calls now. We're still rallying, now and saying what happened. So it won't happen ever again in town of Teaneck. We don't want it to happen anywhere in this world. But unfortunately, we have some cops out there that that they think to shoot first. And it happens way too much. And enough has been enough. one thing on that call that a young woman, she was like 16 years old, and she was part of the Black Lives Matter in Teaneck, and she said, what are they doing, the police department, what are they doing as far as maybe psychological testing for cops? Or having some type of bias testing for cops before they go out there and on the streets.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that there should be some form of testing, some policy implemented where, like, let's say, for instance, I'm pretty sure they tested my brother's body for drugs. No, my brother wasn't.
I'm sure, because...
But they didn't test staff, you know, for drugs and things like that. And it was told to my family and I later that Spaff was a substance abuser. I don't know personally if that's to be true, or were true, and I don't like to speak on things that I don't know that are factual. So I'm just putting it out there of things that were said to us, you know, us being my family and things like that. But we would never know. This is why I'm bringing this point up.
Right.
To elaborate on what you said, we will never know because he was never tested. And 9 times out of 10, the police officers are not tested. And another thing is, I want us as Black folk or Black and brown folk to stop putting out there the fact that, you know, unarmed. I know we spoke before the show and I didn't really want to touch upon this, but I will. Okay. You know, my brother, when we moved to Inglewood, there was a lot of like town battling and things like that.
That tri-town,
quote unquote.
That beef we used to have,
So it's like if you were caught coming from another town and walking in another town, then you would get jumped. It was just, that was in the air. You know, that was like common for Teaneck, Hackensack, even
Inglewood.
And Inglewood, right. So when my brother moved to Inglewood and he had to go to Dwight Morrow, he was getting jumped practically like every day. You know, I know I've done an interview saying my mother took my brother to the ER every day, which I over exaggerated. It wasn't every day, but we did go to the ER a few times, you know, and we hadn't moved. We hadn't lived in Inglewood for that long. You know? It was like a constant thing where my brother was getting jumped and things like that.
Right.
So there was an incident where he was able to get a hold of a starter's pistol. The starter's pistol could not fire. It could not fire. It was inoperable. And again, my brother wasn't a cop killer. He was a 6-year-old kid that was shot in the back that did not deserve to be shot in the back. Before Spaff had even done anything, the incident itself, he started firing his weapon while my brother was running away from him. So with anybody, including Spaff, with the notion of he feared his life or he was in fear of his life, how can anyone be in fear of their life when they're chasing someone, they're in pursuit of someone? And then another point I wanted to make really quick, and then we can move on if you want to.
Whatever you like.
I look at old school movies, you know, and I like to study history and things like that. And again, not to kind of reference things that I don't know, but I've researched cases on the mob and mobsters. Now, when Black and brown people, when we always put out there unarmed, or whether they were armed or not, you have people back in the day where all these gangsters like the mob and things like that who had bodies. I mean, they killed 14, 20 people. And then get arrested and die in jail. John Gotti died in jail. You know, a lot of different gangsters died in jail.
Right.
Saying that I'm putting Black people and BLM and associating it with the mob or anything like that, like Donald Trump is trying to do. I'm referencing it because it's a whole different avenue. It's a whole different genre. Like you can't compare the two when you talk about when Donald Trump references BLM as being like this terroristic type of
organization.
Group.
He's an idiot. Yeah,
no, that's what I'm saying. So it's like people, but he's not only an idiot. He is masterful. Like he gets people to believe it. You know,
right.
So like he is an idiot. You and I know that, but other people don't know that he's an idiot.
Right, they're drinking that crazy poison Kool-Aid that he's offering up. And people don't know, like you said, like Black Lives Matter is an affirmation. It's saying that we always mattered, and that the killings here, any killing of any human being, is horrible, and that it happens to be most of us being killed like that, and the world needs to know that we are human beings. Half of these people don't even realize that, don't even want to know, not even want to know, but they don't associate us with being even human. You know what I'm saying? Because for so long, for so long in this country, we're even considered citizens and human anyway. You know what I'm saying? So people have it embedded. Some cops have that embedded. You know, I think I put a post up. Maybe I didn't put it up yet, but it was a meme, not meme, but I guess one of those quotes saying that, yeah, not all cops are bad. Okay, fine. But or not all Trump supporters are bad people, but supporting racism is not a deal breaker. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can say a lot about different leaders, but like some things that somebody would say, I'm like, I don't really agree with that. So I'm not gonna put that on my chest. I'm gonna put it on my bumper sticker. You know what I'm saying? But people are believing in what we said Trump was saying. And like dealing, the whole Black Lives Matter, people they don't understand. And you know what? I don't know about you, but I'm tired of explaining it to them. Yeah, I'm tired of explaining why all lives matter is racist. I'm tired of explaining that. If you don't get it by now, I'm tired of arguing with a bunch of fools. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't match up. I'm just so happy that you spoke about what you just said, and also about what you've been through as a child, and that's so important, right? And and like what you came to be is an inspiring person. The things that you started, you see all the things that I read over here, that you have become, like, that's just an amazing thing that you have done, and you brought light onto this subject matter, right? And also that you've done other things that in your life, and like that's amazing. Another thing you brought up was that the cop, that whatever, I don't want to even say his name. I know. Right. That his record was not reported. No. And that's what we're talking right now. We're thinking, I don't know if anybody heard in the news or not. We're talking about making those those police records and their public. Yeah. Their data public. New Jersey actually did that. Right. Whether it was fatal or not, we want to know what's going on. And right. Right. Exactly.
The police are public servants.
Exactly.
So we're supposed to know how they're moving.
Exactly.
But they don't. It's this boys' club, if you will. And
it is.
It's unionized to the point where it's so tight. It's hard to kind of break that unionization up.
Right.
And it's sad because who's paying their salaries? We are. The taxpayers are. So if the bad cops, or this, like SPAC was a bad apple. Clearly, he was a bad apple. He should have never been a police officer.
Facts.
For as long as he's
a whole bunch of them that shouldn't have been no cops.
Exactly. And had T-Nex stepped in and done something about it, my brother would still be here. So it was. I don't just blame SPAC for it. I blame the bureaucracy behind it, and them backing him and sweeping it under the rug. And then on the flip side, I commend the Teaneck Police Department, like you said early on in the interview, that there was never another Philip Pannell in 30 years, and hopefully, knock on wood, there would never be. They never will, another Philip Pannell.
But what that does put on us, and like you have a son, I have two sons, I have a daughter as well. It still gives us a sense of fear as mothers. Yeah. There's always a sense of fear, even myself around cops. It was like a sense of fear. And no, I don't want to teach that to my children, but you have to teach common sense to them and let them be aware. You know what I'm saying? We want them to be aware, because right now we'll say, don't run, or do run, or put your hands up. Or we don't even know what to say. We don't know what to say to our boys. And my son, he's a big dude, like a football player. He's like, he's like a man, almost. He's a baby face, but still. I don't want him to ever fit a description, ever. Going down the street to get something from 7-Eleven, going to get Skittles and daggone Arizona iced tea. I don't ever want him to fit a description, because it would scare the crap out of me. So that's what our community has to face. And it shouldn't be like that. But to be honest with you, it's always been like that.
Always
You know what I'm
been-
saying? My father's generation, definitely his granddaddy's, his father's generation. In this country, we've always suffered like this.
Right.
And I think people do not know.
But police were they were originated to kind of round up the slaves, if you will. You know, that's what the historical piece to police officers to go
Right.
and round up the slaves or the runaway slaves, if you will. And they still have that kind of mentality when
Right.
it comes to us black and brown people. I mean, look at the gentleman that well, not gentleman, but look at the kid that killed all those people in the church in
Oh
Charleston.
my God, the Charleston Nine.
Yeah, and then they end up taking him to Burger King and putting a bulletproof vest on him, and then taking him in. You know, so it's like I don't understand how the world has not evolved in a sense, if you will, when it comes to black and brown people, because we all breathe the same air. So I don't
Right.
understand why we're not at a point in life where we can share the same space. You know.
Right.
And us as black and brown people, I love the whole Blackout Tuesday and not spending $1 because
That's right.
when we join together and economically,
That cooperative economics.
right, then we're forced to be reckoned with. You know, I
Right.
like the whole notion of you buy a house on the block and then I buy a house on the block and then we get other people to start buying homes on the block. And before you know it, we're developing our own neighborhoods then at that,
Right.
you know.
Right.
And these are the along the lines we have to start thinking, you know, to be able to build a better or sustainable world for our children. So
And
our
it's-
children have to-
Right. And there's definitely been talks about this, not just in our generation, our grandparents' generation, as much as they could have, they have tried. You know what I'm saying? And we've been doing this forever. We're 400 years behind. We're 400 years behind. And right now we're still trying to come out this mess of this racism that has been the devil, basically. That's really what it is. There's something else that you brought up, and I just slipped my mind that quick. I hate when that happens. Something else you brought up, I can't think of it right now, but it was pertaining what you were just talking about, the cops and everything. Just a side note, I definitely remember Al Sharpton when he came to Teaneck. I want to mention that, and I do remember I remember the march we had back in the day. And I believe we participated, like myself and my mom participated in that too. But I do remember, and I'm so happy that he's still in your life, because we definitely see him now. Again, we see him in different areas of the country where police brutality police have definitely overstepped that line and killed one of our children. We have men have seen him in those cities and everything. And I want to say that no one is ever against the police, right? No one says that, oh, cops are horrible. No, but somebody break into my house right now, I'm calling 911. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? I'm doing that, you know. I have it on my phone because we know that police are here to serve and to protect. We know that, right? We don't expect the cop to be a jerk. Well, you know, the black people, we don't know, but we don't. When we call 911,
right?
We expect them to protect and serve all people. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, when they see us, our skin is a threat. When other people see us walking down the street, like the homegirl on Central Park, saw a man was bird watching and he said something about her dog and she had a whole daggone panic attack. Exactly. Craziness happened, you know, he could have lost his life.
So, do you think that they actually see us as a threat? Do you think do you think that that's an excuse? Because I'm starting to think at the age I am now and the experiences that I've experienced, I feel like that's just another leeway for them to justify killing us or justify their actions. They know that we're not a threat. I mean, because how can Ayanna Jones be a threat? How can Breonna Taylor have been a threat when she was sleeping?
She was sleeping.
Right. How can Tina Jones? No, not Jones.
Which one?
The one,
Unfortunately,
I know the one that she was playing video games with her.
her nephew, her 8-year-old nephew. Yeah, and he just, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, come on. I
I
mean,
know.
none of these people, Tamir Rice, God forbid, he wasn't no threat, you know, and he
Right.
had a little toy water gun or something.
Oh my
like
God! And every time I see him, I see my Patrick, because they have the same round face. Every time I see that, I get real choked up, because it's like, these are children, and these are children. These are children. These are mothers. These are brothers. These are people part of our families.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't want to hear the BS talking about, oh well, he was selling cigarettes. So the hell what?
Right. Exactly.
So what? You know what I'm saying? Like, and then the thing is, we see these things on video. When your brother was murdered, there was no video. There was no video. There was no one had cell phones, all that stuff. And there's so many, unfortunately, senseless killings, and without video, without any of that stuff. But doesn't even matter. We see people getting killed right in front of us. Doesn't even matter.
And they still get off.
They still get off. We see Eric Garner's, both of his hands are up.
Yeah.
See what they did to him.
Just like the gentleman that they just killed 3 years ago, and the video just came out. And now, shout outs to Lee Merritt and Sean King and Tamika Mallory and Carmen Perez and myself.
Those are our activists of our century, right? Those are the people who are speaking up in our generation, and who have been out there on the front lines to talk about and bring this out to light on media, on social media, you know?
Important.
Right. Right.
Stay in their faces, you know? And this is something that this social justice activism, Celine, if you will, is something that I don't really wish to continue to do on the level, to keep on reminding myself or reliving the experience, because every time I hear a case or every time I go out to a rally, I mean, this is something that's in my daily conversation with people outside of me going to these events. And I don't want that for my life, because I feel that I'm more than that 13-year-old little girl who was killed. I mean, I don't mind taking a torch and passing a torch, or holding a torch for as long as I can hold it. But I want something more out of life than to keep on reliving this experience, you know. And I think as Black people, we deserve that. We deserve to be happy, you know. And it's important. I thank God, and I thank persons like yourself that I'm connected with, because you help me find balance. You know, when I go to certain events and I see people like faces like yourself and things like that, it kind of brings a smile to my heart, because I feel like, okay, I'm not in this alone.
Right.
And that I'm not in this alone, I have people out there that's gonna fight. That's gonna fight their personal fight. You know, you have, like you said, your personal side or your personal ties to it is that you have a son and you have a daughter. You know, so you're out there for whatever reasons because you want a better life for them. You know, and whereas I'm out there trying to bring a visibility and awareness to what happened to my brother, but also I'm also fighting for my 21-year-old son.
Right.
You know, so that's what makes me, that puts the battery in my back, and it allows me to keep on pushing forward. But I want to do more. Like, I'm looking towards trying to pass a hands up, don't shoot law, which I would like to coin it as the Phillips law. You know,
awesome.
And I'm breaking down the logistics of that, and I would like to Congress and try to get a bill passed, because that's where it's going to start. It's going to start where us as the families, us as like Black folks, Black and brown folks, to start to try to change the law. Right. Try to bring accountability, you know. Right. These officers.
Absolutely. Let me tell you, well, sis, we are right behind you. We are beside you. We're in this fight. You have a whole slew of people who are right there fighting with you. We would never let this go down with what happened. And people, as myself, I'll always be an advocate for my people. And so there's other people who are like that, who are right there beside you and fighting this fight for you and your family, your moms, everybody who are right there still supporting you. Even at the Teaneck March, when we heard her speak, you know, everyone felt that, and everyone should feel that. You know, everyone, and not just Black women, white women should feel that too. Okay, they're mothers too. You know what I'm saying? So everyone feels that. I want, before we go, I'm looking at the time like,
No,
you tell us about the Philip Pannell Foundation. Can you tell us about that?
yeah, so really quickly, the Philip Pannell Foundation is a nonprofit 501c3. My mom and I started last year. And
Mhm.
my brother, we're planning on giving scholarships to Teaneck High School students, the White Marl High School students, starting off in our own backyard and
Mhm.
in hopes of expanding it throughout the state of New Jersey. And I just wanted to really quickly read the mission. The mission of
Yes.
the Philip Pannell Foundation Incorporated is to raise public consciousness, bring awareness to prevent senseless acts of violence in America. And
Mhm.
our vision is to create initiatives that educate, empower, and unify underserved communities, fostering an environment for equality and justice. And what that entails is we plan on partnering with persons like yourself, other organizations, and starting to create and have a dialogue with the community, you know, with mothers, with siblings, if you will, who lost a sibling or a loved one to gun violence, and just get in the room with people and excuse me, also police officers, and have like
Right.
town hall meetings and forums and things like that with them as well. So I love the whole notion that the Teaneck Police Department and the city of Teaneck is wanting to have a conversation about Philip Pannell. I just
Yeah.
hope and wish that my mother and I are part of that conversation and that dialogue.
Mhm. Definitely. And
Follow the website is the philippannellfoundation.org. So check out the website.
the Philip Pannell Foundation.org.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to make sure everyone got that. You know, I hope everyone enjoyed this show because we also give knowledge. And I want people to be aware. If we knew the history of some things that have gone on, we'll basically understand why what's happening right now. There won't be no pushback because of the history. And so people who are not familiar, I hope you are familiar now. I hope you go and look up the Philip Pannell Foundation. I hope you become advocates for your family. Hope you become advocates for the Black Lives Matter movement, because like I said, it's an affirmation. It's not saying something we're better than this. No, 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 no. We're saying that our lives always matter, and that it's time for the world to see that, right? Before we go, I do have a quote. Lady Bex usually has our quotes, but she's not here, so I have to do the quote, you know, so make sure it warms up in my feed here. So the quote, which is very necessary, is until the killing of Black men, Black mothers, sons becomes as important as the rest of the country as the killing of white mothers' sons, we who believe in freedom cannot rest until this happens. Ella Baker, 1964. I want to say thank you again to Natacha Pannell. Thank you so much. Give us some hand claps. Thank you for joining the show. You had a fantastic time. We want you to come again. This is the SistaHood radio show where we are unbossed and unbothered. We're here to empower, inspire, and uplift Black women in culture. We'll see you next week right here on Facebook Live. Thank you, Natasha. I appreciate it. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.